The debate between black and green tea enthusiasts often boils down to subjective arguments about taste. However, the real differences between them are profound and objective, rooted in the very first stages of tea leaf processing. Both types are produced from the same plant, Camellia sinensis, and it is the radically different processing technology after harvesting that creates two unique products with distinct chemistry, flavor, color, aroma, and even health benefits. Understanding these fundamental differences allows one to choose a beverage not simply based on one's mood, but to consciously utilize its properties. This analysis will examine the two teas step by step, covering key aspects, from the biochemical processes of fermentation to their role in the global economy, shifting the focus from the question, which is better, to what is each tea best for and when. The radical difference between green and black tea arises at the very earliest stage of production, following the withering of the harvested leaves. The key defining process is enzymatic oxidation, traditionally referred to in tea culture as fermentation. This is not a microbiological fermentation, as with kefir or wine, but a strictly biochemical reaction of cell sap oxidation by the plant's own enzymes. The presence, duration, and degree of control over this process create two fundamentally different products from the same source material. Camellia sinensis shoots. To produce green tea, enzymatic oxidation must be stopped as quickly and completely as possible. This is accomplished through the fixation method, or Sha Qing. The goal is to kill the green tea, that is, to deactivate the polyphenol oxidase enzyme responsible for initiating oxidation. There are two main methods. The first is steaming at approximately 95-100 Kulderstück for 60-120 seconds, which is typical of Japanese teas such as sencha. This method preserves the leaf's vibrant, grassy aroma and deep green color. The second method is roasting in kettles or baths at 200-280 waters, typical of many Chinese teas, such as Longjing. Roasting produces a dry, chestnut-like, or nutty aroma. In both cases, the thermal shock not only stops oxidation, but also reduces the leaf's moisture content, partially destroys chlorophyll, converting it to pheophytin, which can produce a yellowish tint, and seals the chemical composition. As a result, the leaf retains a composition as close to fresh as possible. A high content of simple catechins, such as epigallocatechin gallate, chlorophyll, amino acids, especially L-theanine, and vitamin C. Green tea is an attempt to preserve and convey the original plant-based essence of the tea leaf. Black tea undergo a completely different process. Here, oxidation plays a central, controlled role. After withering, which reduces moisture and makes the leaf pliable, it is rolled on rollers. This is not simply a matter of shaping. Mechanical rolling disrupts cellular structures and vacuoles, releasing cell sap onto the leaf surface. The enzyme polyphenol oxidase, located in the plastids, comes into intense contact with polyphenols, primarily the catechin group, from the cell sap. This initiates a chain reaction of oxidation by atmospheric oxygen. During this reaction, simple catechins are converted into orthodiphenols and then into quinones. These quinones, being highly reactive, polymerize, forming complex pigmented compounds, theaflavins and thearubicins. Theaflavins are golden-orange pigments responsible for the brightness, vibrancy, and astringency of the infusion. Thearubicins are reddish-brown polymers that determine the color saturation, strength, and texture of the infusion. It is the balance of these two groups of compounds that determines the quality of black tea. The oxidation process lasts a strictly controlled time, from 45 minutes for delicate leaves to 3 hours for coarser tea leaves, at a temperature of 22 to 26 degrees and high humidity of 90 to 95%. The tea master determines the moment of completion by the leaf's change from green to copper-red color and by the distinctive aroma. The process is stopped by hot air drying at 85-95 bars Celsius, which deactivates enzymes and locks in the resulting chemical profile. Thus, from a chemical perspective, green tea is a product with minimal oxidative transformation, preserving the primary phenolic compounds in their original reduced form. Black tea is a product of deep, controlled oxidation, where the primary substrate substances, catechins, are almost completely converted into secondary oxidation products, theaflavins and thearubicins. This fundamental technological difference is not simply a production stage, but a key chemical event that determines all subsequent differences. The color of the infusion, its flavor and aroma spectrum, its stability during storage, and most importantly, the nature of its physiological effects on the human body. Naturally, the differences between black and green tea, shaped during the fermentation stage, become apparent from the very first moment of interaction with the beverage. Organoleptic properties, color, aroma, flavor, tactile sensations are not a matter of taste, but a direct and objective reflection of the chemical composition shaped by technology. Each characteristic has a clear material basis, traceable to specific compounds and reactions. The color of the infusion is the most obvious indicator. Green tea owes its color spectrum from pale straw and pistachio to deep emerald to the pigments preserved during fixation. Chlorophyll plays a key role here. Its partial destruction during heat treatment leads to the formation of pheophytin, which produces olive and yellow-green tones. Carotenoids and flavones contribute to the yellow component. Importantly, the absence of oxidation prevents the formation of dark pigments, so the infusion remains light and clear. In the case of black tea, its rich red-brown, amber, or cognac color is direct visual evidence of fermentation. This color is produced exclusively by oxidation products, theaflavins and thearubicins. Theaflavins, formed early in the fermentation process, produce a bright golden orange hue and are considered a quality marker as they are converted to thearubicins during further oxidation. Thearubicins are larger polymeric molecules of a reddish-brown color that determine the depth and richness of the infusion. Their predominance, typical of highly oxidized or crushed teas, makes the color darker and less vibrant. Turbidity in black tea may indicate further condensation of thearubicins into insoluble forms. The flavor profiles of the two teas are built on different foundations. The dominant flavor of green tea is umami, the fifth basic taste, perceived as a pleasant fullness, bubbly or meaty quality. It is primarily responsible for the amino acid L-theanine, which remains in high concentration during fixation. Bitter notes can come from the alkaloids caffeine and theobromine, while the characteristic, often sharp and dry astringency is provided by unoxidized catechins, particularly epigallocatechin, galate. These catechins bind to salivary proteins, creating a sensation of tightness. Sweet and vegetal overtones are formed by other amino acids and volatile compounds. The flavor of black tea is fundamentally different. During oxidation, most of the L-theanine is transformed, and the catechins are converted into theaflavins and thearubicins. Therefore, umami fades into the background, and astringency takes on a different character, softer, rounder, and velvety, because the aflavins interact with the mucous membrane less aggressively than catechins. Flavors generated by the breakdown and transformation of substances come to the fore. Malt notes are formed during the degradation of starch and the formation of maltolones. Fruity and honey tones arise from esters and aldehydes, and caramel and chocolate nuances can result from the Maillard reaction between amino acids and sugars during drying. The bitterness in high-quality black tea is balanced, but can intensify with overbrewing due to the extraction of excess caffeine and thearubicins. Aromatic composition is another area of radical divergence. The aroma of green tea is largely that of fresh, yet heat-treated leaves. It is less complex and more volatile. Depending on the method of fixation, two main trends can be distinguished. Steamed teas, like Japanese sencha, retain vibrant herbal, marine, and sometimes spinach-like tones, thanks to high levels of dimethyl sulfide and hexanols. Roasted teas, like Chinese longjing, acquire dry, nutty, chestnut, and bean notes through the pyrolysis of amino acids and sugars. The aroma of black tea is immeasurably richer and includes hundreds of volatile compounds. Three main processes are involved in its formation: enzymatic oxidation, which creates the bulk of new aromas; the degradation of carotenoids to iononase, with floral notes; and thermal reactions during drying. As a result, the bouquet of black tea can contain bright floral accords of linalool and geraniol, fruity tones of esters, citrus notes of citral, spicy undertones, as well as deep tones of dried fruits, honey, and even light smokiness. The tactile sensation, or body, of the tea completes the picture. High-quality green tea, rich in amino acids, often leaves a sensation of density, silkiness, and smoothness on the tongue, sometimes described as fatty or oily. This sensation of fullness is a manifestation of umami. Black tea, especially those containing significant amounts of theaflavins, produces a more structured, sometimes slightly dry sensation, but with good volume. Due to its higher content of polymeric thearubigens, its body can be perceived as heavier and denser. The texture of black tea is often described as velvety or gently astringent, in contrast to the sharper and more tenacious astringency of green tea. Thus, the organoleptic experience of drinking these two teas is a direct diagnostic tool, allowing one to accurately determine the degree of oxidative transformation the tea leaf has undergone. Every aspect of this experience, from the visual perception of color to the tactile sensation on the palate, is rigidly determined by biochemistry, making the debate about taste in this context not subjective, but amenable to precise chemical and technological analysis. But when it comes to the differences in the biochemical composition of green and black tea, formed during the oxidation stage, they naturally lead to different effects on the human body. This effect is not limited to the presence of caffeine. It is determined by the complex influence of unique sets of polyphenols, which in these two types of tea are represented by different substances with distinct biological activities. Let's start with a key group of compounds: polyphenols. Green tea is dominated by simple catechins, particularly epigallocatechin, galate. This molecule is one of the most studied plant antioxidants. Its mechanism of action involves the direct neutralization of free radicals, chelation of metal ions that can generate oxidative stress, and activation of the cell's own antioxidant systems via the NRF2 signaling pathway. Epigallocatechin, galate, has pronounced anti-inflammatory potential, inhibiting key inflammatory mediators such as the transcription factor NF-κB. Research has linked regular green tea consumption to a reduced risk of cardiovascular disease, which is explained by a combination of effects: improved vascular endothelial function, a moderate reduction in low-density lipoprotein (LDL) levels, and inhibition of the oxidation of these lipoproteins, a key step in the formation of atherosclerotic plaques. Furthermore, green tea catechins have been shown to moderately accelerate metabolism and enhance fat oxidation, which supports their study in the context of weight management. An important feature is their potential impact on oral health, as catechins inhibit the growth of Streptococcus mutans bacteria, which are responsible for the development of dental caries. However, the bioavailability of pure catechins, particularly epigallocatechin galate, is relatively low, and their activity can vary. Black tea acts differently. During oxidation, its primary catechins are transformed into complex polyphenols, theaflavins and thearubigens. These large molecules possess their own antioxidant activity, distinct from catechins. They also effectively scavenge free radicals, but their main advantage may lie elsewhere. Theaflavins, unlike green tea catechins, have shown a high ability to inhibit digestive enzymes such as lipase and amylase. This means they can slow the breakdown and, therefore, absorption of fats and carbohydrates in the intestine, potentially useful for modulating postprandial blood glucose and triglyceride levels. Furthermore, thearubicins, being large polymers, are absorbed to a lesser extent in the small intestine and reach the colon, where they can serve as a substrate for beneficial microflora, exerting a prebiotic effect. Regarding the cardiovascular system, large population studies, such as the renowned Rotterdam study, demonstrate that regular consumption of black tea is also associated with a reduced risk of atherosclerosis and myocardial infarction. The mechanism, however, may differ. The key role here is attributed not to cholesterol reduction, but to improved vascular function and decreased angiotensin-converting enzyme activity, which leads to a moderate reduction in blood pressure. Both types of tea share the presence of caffeine and L-theanine, although their ratio and balance vary. Green tea, especially high-quality tea, often contains more L-theanine. This amino acid has a pronounced relaxing and simultaneously focusing effect, as it can cross the blood-brain barrier and influence alpha wave activity in the brain. When combined with caffeine, L-theanine softens its sharp stimulating effect, reduces nervousness, and promotes a state of calm concentration. In black tea, some of the theanine is converted into aromatic aldehydes during oxidation, so its calming effect may be less pronounced, while the effects of caffeine are more direct and noticeable. However, it is important to note that the overall caffeine content depends largely not on the type of tea, but on the specific variety, growing location, and harvest time. So it is impossible to say that black tea is always stronger. Another important aspect is their effect on iron absorption. All polyphenol-rich teas can inhibit the absorption of non-heme iron from plant foods by binding it in the intestine. This ability is particularly pronounced in green tea catechins. Therefore, people at risk of iron deficiency, such as vegetarians or those suffering from anemia, are often advised to drink tea between meals rather than with them. Their effects on intestinal microflora also vary. The large polyphenols in black tea, thearubicins, can promote the growth of certain strains of beneficial bacteria, while the smaller catechins in green tea can exhibit antimicrobial activity, which, if consumed in excess, can disrupt the microbiome's balance. Thus, choosing between green and black tea from a health perspective isn't a choice between beneficial and useless, but a choice between different types of bioactivity. Green tea offers a powerful punch of concentrated catechin antioxidants with proven cardioprotective and anti-inflammatory potential. Black tea provides more complex polyphenols with unique effects on nutrient metabolism, vascular function, and gut microbiota. Both beverages contribute to health, and their effects may be somewhat complementary. The key to reap the benefits is regular but moderate consumption, preferably without sugar, so as not to negate the positive metabolic effects. But the spread and dominance of black or green tea in various regions of the world is determined not only by technological or taste preferences, but also by a complex interplay of historical, economic, climatic, and cultural factors. These factors have shaped enduring consumption traditions, which in turn determine modern market trends and innovations in the tea industry. Historically, green tea has become dominant in its countries of origin, China and Japan, as well as in Korea and much of Southeast Asia. In China, green tea consumption has deep philosophical and medicinal roots, linked to Taoism and traditional Chinese medicine, where it was prized for its cooling and cleansing properties. The Japanese tea ceremony, Chanoyu, focused on matcha and sencha, elevated green tea consumption to a high art and spiritual practice, where every detail, from preparation to drinking, is important. In these cultures, tea is not just a beverage, but a holistic experience, meditation, and a way to harmonize one's inner state with the surrounding world. Production technologies were aimed at preserving freshness and subtle nuances of flavor, which corresponded to aesthetic ideals of minimalism and naturalness. Climate and agricultural practices also played a role. Many regions of China and Japan are ideal for growing the delicate tea bushes that produce the high-quality green teas consumed primarily within the country and in neighboring markets. Black tea, by contrast, became the drink of global trade and the colonial economy. Its triumphant spread across the globe began with the Europeans, primarily the Portuguese and Dutch, and then the British, who faced the challenge of transporting tea from Asia to Europe. Green tea, being less oxidized, fared much worse on long sea voyages in the holds of sailing ships, losing its freshness and often spoiling. Black tea, having undergone deep fermentation, proved incomparably more stable, durable, and better preserved its properties during months-long transport. This made it an ideal commodity for the East India Company. The British Empire, which had become the main consumer of tea, not only established large-scale imports from China, but to break its trade dependence, also established its own production in its colony, India, in the regions of Assam and Darjeeling. Here, Camellia sinensis var. Assamica, ideal for producing strong, rich black tea, were developed. Thus, black tea became a symbol of the British Empire, drunk with milk and sugar, both to soften the harshness of less refined varieties and as a display of wealth, as sugar was an expensive colonial commodity. This tradition took hold and spread to other countries, from Ireland to Australia, Russia, and Turkey, where black tea is also often drunk. Strong, sweet, and sometimes with additives. The economics of the modern tea market reflects this historical division, but with new trends. In terms of production and consumption, black tea unquestionably dominates the world, accounting for approximately 75% of total turnover. It is a mass-market drink, the foundation of the tea-bagging industry, which ensures speed and standardization. The main producers are India, Kenya, Sri Lanka, China, and Vietnam. However, in value terms, the picture is different. High-quality, elite green teas, especially from certain regions of China such as the Wuyi Mountains or West Lake, and Japanese matcha, can fetch astronomical prices at auction. This niche but high-margin segment is targeted at connoisseurs and a healthy lifestyle. The wellness category has become the main driver of green tea's popularity in the West in recent decades. Research on the benefits of antioxidants has transformed green tea into a superfood, leading to an explosion of demand, not only for the beverage, but also for green tea extracts and dietary supplements, cosmetics, and functional foods. Modern trends are leading to cross-pollination and the blurring of boundaries. On the one hand, in traditional black tea markets such as the UK, interest is growing in specialty green and white teas, as well as artisanal black teas with a clear terroir. On the other hand, Western-style black tea is gaining popularity in Asia, especially among young people, with tea shops offering bubble teas, often based on strong black tea. Innovations in production, such as the emergence of lightly fermented oolongs, which occupy a middle ground between green and black tea, or new gentle fermentation methods, are also expanding the palate. However, cultural codes remain strong. In China and Japan, offering a guest green tea is a gesture of respect and attention to the purity of flavor. While in England or Turkey, the ritual of brewing strong black tea is an act of hospitality and creating a cozy atmosphere. Thus, the choice between black and green tea today is not only a matter of taste or health, but also a reflection of cultural identity, economic models, and even attitudes toward time. Black tea embodies globalization, endurance, familiar comfort, and social ritual. Green tea is associated with local Eastern traditions, attention to detail, meditation, and a conscious approach to health. The global market, however, is demonstrating a trend toward synthesis. Consumers increasingly seek quality, transparency of origin, and a unique experience, whether in a cup of rare green Sheng Pu'er or exquisite black Darjeeling First Flush. This suggests that the future of tea culture lies not in the opposition of these two types, but in a deeper understanding of the multifaceted nature of each and in the expansion of consumer erudition. That's all for today's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any videos. See you soon.